Jamal had spent years running from the town that had once been his home. He had left the moment he could, determined to escape the pain of a place that had cast him aside. But something, a pull he couldn't quite explain, had drawn him back. He had promised himself he would never return. Not after the accusations, not after the way they treated his mother, the way they treated him. But now, as he drove through the familiar streets, the place he had tried to forget began to flood his memory. His mind flashed back to that day. The day they accused his mother of something she didn't do. The day they took everything from him. The day he left, never looking back. The small town was just as he remembered it. Quiet. Almost too quiet. The streets were empty, the storefronts aged, and the church at the end of the road stood untouched, as if waiting for something to happen. Jamal didn't know what he was expecting, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't here for forgiveness. He wasn't here to make amends. He was here for closure. For himself. He parked his car and stepped out, the cool breeze of the evening air rushing past him. He looked up at the church. It seemed so small now. So insignificant. The place where they had told him his mother was guilty. The place where his name had been slandered. But as Jamal approached the church, he realized something. He wasn't walking into that building for them. He wasn't walking in for the people who had turned their backs on him. He was walking in for himself. The door creaked open, and the smell of old wood and dust filled the air. The silence inside was deafening. He stepped in, the sound of his shoes echoing off the stone floors. The stained glass windows cast colors across the pews, their beauty now lost to time. Jamal walked toward the altar, his steps slow and deliberate. His eyes traced the familiar path he had walked so many times as a child. Back then, he had hoped for something, some sign that he was loved, that he was wanted. But all he had found was betrayal. He knelt before the altar, his hands pressed together. For a moment, everything went silent. The weight of the past, of the years of hurt, of the lies, seemed to disappear. He closed his eyes and breathed in deeply, letting the air fill his lungs. For the first time in years, Jamal felt at peace. It wasn't the church that had betrayed him. It wasn't the town. It was the people who chose to believe in lies instead of truth. But he couldn't carry that burden anymore. "I forgive you," he whispered to the empty church. The words seemed to echo through the stone walls. "I forgive all of you." He stayed there for what felt like hours, letting the stillness wash over him. The pain of the past had been consuming him for so long, but in that moment it began to fade. Jamal stepped outside, the cool evening air hitting his face. He looked around the town one last time, his heart heavy with memories. There was no going back. He had outgrown this place. He had outgrown the anger, the hurt, the betrayal. But as he walked away, he realized that what he was leaving behind wasn't just a town. It was a part of him. The part that had clung to the past. The part that refused to forgive. Now, Jamal was free. Free from the shackles of a past that had held him captive for too long. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, he felt ready to face it. He wasn't the same person who had left this town all those years ago. He had grown. He had learned. And now, he was ready to live his life the way he always should have. Jamal's car moved slowly through the streets, the town disappearing in his rearview mirror. He wasn't looking back anymore. He had let go of the past. And as he drove, he thought about his mother. The woman who had raised him, who had loved him unconditionally, and who had never given up on him. He remembered the way her eyes had sparkled when she spoke of his future. "I'll make you proud, Mom," he whispered to himself. "I promise." Jamal drove on, the road ahead stretching endlessly before him. He wasn't sure what lay in the distance, but he knew one thing for sure. The future was his to create. He stood in front of his mother's grave, the weight of the years pressing on him. The town had abandoned him, but in this moment he understood something important. Forgiveness wasn't just about the other person. It was about freeing himself. He knelt down and placed a red rose on the grave. "I forgive you, Mom," he said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "I forgive everything, and I'll make it through. For both of us." Standing up, Jamal took one last look at the gravestone. It was time to let go. Time to move forward. And as he turned to leave, the wind seemed to carry his mother's voice with it. He couldn't hear it, not with his ears, but in his heart. And he knew, deep down, she was proud of him. Jamal drove away from the town, the landscape slowly fading behind him. He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't sad. He was just free. The church, the house, the town, they were all behind him now. What mattered was the journey ahead. What mattered was the man he was becoming. He was ready.